Welcome back to the Model Room. Thanks for checking in. A few weeks ago, I asked a community question about who you would nominate to be on Mount Rushmore if it were made for modelers. And we got a big response on that. We had a lot of fun with it. And there were any number of different people nominated to be on that mountain. And all those answers were correct. There are no wrong answers. So that was pretty cool. Now, I was thinking about it recently, and I realized that there's a corollary that goes along with that. Modelers build models. So now the question is, which model do you think goes on Mount Rushmore? Here's my first question. How many models do you think we've seen in our lives? Thousands, right? Tens of thousands. More than that, the number is probably staggering. And of those models, of course, some are good, some are bad, some are outstanding, and some will really take your breath away. I'm looking for the ones that go beyond that are at the summit, the pinnacle of the modeling world. It comes down to just 4 that can go on that mountain. So I think that there should be some criteria for that. To me, in my opinion, I think that it should be something that's innovative, that set the bar a little higher for modeling, at least for its time, if not for all time. And because of that, that makes it iconic. Iconic meaning that it's the first of its kind or it's the only one, but that also will make it then memorable. Memorable makes it historic. So that's kind of the way I'm looking at this. And so I'm going to name my choices for the models on Mount Rushmore based on what I think that criteria should be. Okay, the first model I'm going to nominate for Mount Rushmore is the amazing Dodge Fever by Jim Keeler. This model was built in 1968 for a contest run by Car Model magazine. Jim did an astonishing job with it. He planned it out like a space shot. He laid it all out. He made drawings, did all that stuff. And I think, if I'm not mistaken, he actually made the body from plastic first and then made it from aluminum. He also has an aluminum plate on the back that's got like 1,000 rivets on it. It's not 1,000, but a lot. He did those all by hand. 1968, right? The engine is open on the bottom. You can see the crank turning. And as a result of that, the pistons go up and down the cylinders, and that's open on the top, so you can see that. This is just a totally amazing model. Even the design is unique, and I love it. I think it's really a beautiful piece, and it won the contest, of course. It's been around for a long time. Just as an aside, I got the magazine where he won the contest. And when I looked at it, now I was a kid. In those days, I was going to get my license. I was really into muscle cars. I thought they were really great. I wanted to see models that looked like the cars that I liked. And then this sort of rail dragster kind of thing came along and wins it. And I think, no, that's not right. That shouldn't be. It should be a car that looks like what you see in the showroom. Of course, it was funny cars, so they would have ultra wheelbases anyway. In any case, many years later, I happened to confess my stupidity to Jim, and he's a great guy. Of course, he forgave me. It was all right. And of course, I told him how much I admired and appreciated that model today. It really is a wonderful model, deserves to be on Mount Rushmore. Now, any model by Dave Shuckless probably could make it to the mountain. But in this case, I'm picking the Bobtail Cat for a specific reason, because I think it did set the bar higher back in the infancy of our modeling history. This was around, I think, 1960 or 61 that he made this. And he truncated it. He cut the trunk off and he made it into a more sporty-looking Valiant, of all things. That's what we had in those days. And it came out good. I really like it. So I think it's a really neat model. And I think because of that, what you saw after that model was published in the magazine is that a lot of modelers, like they would send in photos of the models they built at home. And quite a number of them would be like a Bobtail Cat or some other type of car. It didn't have to be a Valiant. You'd see them then start to show up in the model contests. And I think he started a trend. And of course, we have to keep in mind, we were kids in those days. We didn't know a whole lot about how to do this. And Dave showed us. He taught us things to do with our models. And this was one of them. Cut up a body, turn it into something else. Don't just stick every single custom part in the kit on the outside of the body, which, let's face it, we did. So because of that, I think that it becomes an iconic model and deserves to be on the mountain. Let me just mention real quick that I did have some contact with this model. When it went to the museum, Mark Gustafson sent it to Al Rabb for restoration. Al was a member of our club, and he brought it to a club meeting during restoration. We got to see the care and the skill that Dave Shuckless put into this model to build it. And of course, looking at it up close, you can see the innovation and just the great ideas that he had with it. One of the things was that he used a postcard from Auto World for the floorboard in the interior. And, in those days, you would send the postcard into Auto World, you'd get the catalog, and that was a great thing. Everybody loved that catalog. So this was in there. He had painted the inside. You couldn't see it from the outside of the car. And we didn't know it was there until Al took it apart. It was kind of like finding a little secret in the build. This next one is a terrific model, and there is so much in it. It's very difficult to talk about because I'm sure I'm going to miss something. But it's called the Cowboy Cadillac, and it was built by Terry Jesse. Terry's a wonderful modeler. He was a columnist for a long time, and he's a great guy. He's so friendly. I've met him several times. And in fact, I did get to see this model in person. It does not leave home anymore because it's a little fragile. He built this, I guess, in the mid-'80s, towards the end of the '80s. I'm not exactly sure when it was. He was in town one day. It was wintertime, and he saw this kind of old beat-up pickup truck from a ranch. And he thought it was a really neat-looking truck, and it would make a neat model. And up to that point, people basically built models of trucks as, sort of showroom models. They were clean and shiny and, perfect in every way. Terry decided that's not the way trucks really are. So he took pictures of this truck, and he went home and he started building it. And he brought it to GSL. It's an amazing model for several reasons. I mean, it's got a lot of detail. He built this headache rack, I guess you would call it, on the back, and put a lot of detail into the cab. There's a mug of coffee in the cab and a CB radio. There's some tools on the bench seat, and in the back there's a lariat hanging and a cowboy hat. One of the door panels, of course, is a different color, as if it had been damaged and replaced with a different one. And there's all kinds. It's not a clean model. It's beat up. He's got the rust marks on there are very accurate. They really look good. And in the back, there's a lot of like straw and hay in scale. It's a wonderful thing. The thing that really impressed me the most was that at that time in the wintertime, a lot of salt spray would come up off the street because they would salt the streets to melt the ice and snow. When you look at this, you don't really notice it in the pictures, but when you see this model in person, he did a fantastic job replicating that salt spray that came up on the side of the truck, and it's not just like spray some white paint on. It's like a haze that came up, almost like you would see the ice that gets floated up when it dries and ends up clinging to the side of a vehicle. It's absolutely perfect. In fact, this vehicle got the best paint award at GSL the year it was in there. I forget what year that was. But it is a terrific model, absolutely innovative, and started a trend of people building the damaged old realistic type trucks. And he did a great job. My story about this is that my wife and I were traveling several years ago through the West after we retired, and we happened to hit Terry Jesse's town. I mentioned something about that, I guess, online before I went out there, and I got an invitation to go to the Rimrock Plastic Modelers meeting that night. We just happened to hit town that night, and I went to visit them. That's Terry's club, and I had a great time. They're really great guys. They had all kinds of wonderful models, and I just enjoyed myself thoroughly. Terry asked my wife and I to come to coffee the next morning at his house, and we went there and saw his wife. I'd met his wife before, but never really had a good conversation with her, and we had a wonderful time. They're just such lovely people. Terry made scones for us. He actually made homemade scones, and they were terrific. I met his dogs, and of course, after we were there for a while and having our coffee, Terry said, "Would you like to see the model room?" Yes. Yeah, I want to see the model room. All those cars, from his columns, from the covers of the magazine, were all there, and the pictures from the magazine were there, and it was wonderful. And of course, there was the Cowboy Cadillac. So I got to see it in person. As I said, it doesn't leave home anymore. I was very privileged to see that. I was very privileged to be invited to Terry's home, and I thank him for it a lot. He's a great guy. If you ever get a chance to meet him, do it, because you'll really enjoy the experience. And then there's this one. This is the Studebaker that was built by Doug White, and it is a marvel. There is not one body panel on this car that is the same as it was when it left the factory. He just massaged everything and did it all over. The engine is a dream. It is so perfectly detailed, and it is so wonderful. The paint on this car is outstanding, and it's just an absolutely terrific and, again, iconic car. And I think that it moved the bar up quite a bit when he built this car. Now, my story about this is, very quickly, one year, I think it was 01 or 03, we were at GSL. Doug and I didn't really know each other at the time, but he was a professional photographer in New York City, and he did a seminar on photographing models. I love photography stuff. One thing about this channel is that it lets me buy a lot of photographic equipment, but that's an aside. I attended the seminar, and it was excellent. Doug really knows what he's doing, and he did a really great presentation. That Studebaker was at the JSL that year, about to win a big award, and he brought it in with him just to kind of show it. When it was all over, and I'd asked a number of questions during the presentation, because I was interested and I want to learn stuff. And so afterwards, everybody was filing out, and Doug stopped me and he said, "Hey, I have a lunch appointment. I got to go right now. Would you mind taking my model back into the display room?" Now, I'm not normally a nervous person, but to take this car, this particular car that had all the buzz at the GSL that year, and carry it just across the hall into the display room, put it down, I almost had a panic attack with that. I said, "Sure, I'll do that." And I picked it up, and I did very carefully carried it across and put it down into the display room. And Mark Gustafson saw me, kind of looked at me funny, like, what's he doing with that? But I put it down, everything was okay. So, wonderful model, without a doubt, deserves to be one of the models on Mount Rushmore. So those are my selections. Yours will be different. As I said at the beginning, none of them are wrong. Everyone is right. I'm really going to be interested to see the ones that you pick out of the probably millions of models that are out there that we've all seen. So thank you for watching. I really appreciate it. I hope you will like this video and subscribe if you're inclined, and we'll see you next time.